Welcome to a new episode of the MVP Podcast. We talk hustle, business, content creation, athletics, and entrepreneurship.
Every day I'm hustling.
Streaming across the world on Spotify and Apple Music. The MVP Podcast starts now.
That's the real question.
I got two.
What's new, bro? I thought you'd be rocking the glasses right now.
I want to, but Danielle didn't want to.
Whose place are you at right now? Are you at Danielle's or are you at yours, Pope?
What's that?
Whose place are you at right now?
I'm at Danielle's.
Mm.
So
It looks too nice and laid out to be your place, huh?
yeah, no, mine's not laid out like that. So obviously, we MVPs in our communities. We've discussed that, and Alex, you brought on your boy. You brought on Nolak, and then Josh, you bringing on James. That's a big one for you. And my obviously who I've always looked up to is right here, my sister Danielle. So
hey everyone.
she's the one coming on here. She's the one that always leading the way. Sorry, the dog is sick. So if you hear some honk in the background, doggo's sick.
It's a 10-year-old Pomeranian.
It's a Pomeranian. Is that the kind of dog you have?
She's living her best life too.
So what's new with you guys though?
Nothing, bro. One more week before
Busy.
going back to school and trying to grind it out right now. So fitting in it.
Josh is taking the flicks.
Yeah, a lot of flicks lately. Weddings, sports videos, dog calendars, everything.
I got you. So, bringing Danielle on was definitely, since we started this podcast, something that I really wanted to do. One, because we all four of us, like we talk about in every podcast, we have the same mindset, we're all in that entrepreneurial mind. And for me, it's super nice having her around because she's just a few years older than me. So all the ups and the downs in the process, she's already went through. So I just get the wisdom from it.
What's the age gap?
Yeah. So she's 26. I'm 22.
Oh yeah, that's nice then. You guys were probably close then growing up too, which is nice.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, very close. Just a couple years difference, but enough to where, I've made a few more mistakes and maybe a couple big wins, but enough to pass down.
Right.
So we've all kind of had that entrepreneurial mindset. So I guess, I don't know if this could go around in a circle. When we'll start with Danielle, when did you feel like that started? When did that entrepreneurial mindset kick in?
I'd say I'd always had an entrepreneurial mindset. Even when I was little in elementary school, I remember I would bring in certain food items to trade with the other kids. I would make crafts and sell them so I could get the stuff that I wanted at home. I was always different. I got my first job waiting tables at 14 years old. So while the other kids were going out and having fun during summer, I was working every morning, 5 a.m., serving breakfast and then having my fun after. And ever since 14, I've always held a job. And if I didn't have one job, I had 2 jobs all throughout high school and still maintained my grades too. So I say I've always kind of been an entrepreneur.
Yeah. What about you guys?
Mine, dude, honestly, it was pretty funny. I always started out with I was cutting grass. I was always doing something where it was physically I was doing something. And then one thing kind of led to another. I always liked cars and enjoyed working on cars and everything. So it eventually got into me just kind of meeting different people and then getting into more so of the detailing and doing actual detailed oriented work and kind of bounced around. I mean, just from doing that, like Danielle said, it was kind of always something where you never really wanted to exactly be under the thumb of someone else, but just kind of doing your own thing and being able to keep grinding and finding different ways to do your thing,
For sure. Josh.
Yeah, I'd say even like similar to you guys, when I was younger, I was always kind of trying to make a little money. Um, and I remember my neighbor next door, we would always go around in the wintertime. We'd just try to make bank shoveling snow. And we would have some good days and some bad days. But that was like my first taste of like, oh, like this is kind of fun. Didn't do too much of that until got my first job at 16. And then once I got into college at Westminster and everything, that's when I got into photo video things. Met all you golfers and all you people and turned that into the entrepreneur that I am now. So
Oh yeah, bro. Now we're
Sure.
on a podcast. So Danielle, did you go to school, or is like I heard the good grades and then it led you like through school, and then Popa talked about it a little bit. I think like that's a cool point to bring up and talk about, is like because school really isn't for, I mean, just a lot of people, and especially whenever you're finding your own way, doing your own thing, that like realizing that
yeah,
bouncing away from it can really help you just kind of grow individually.
if you could just give us the
Mhm.
backstory of like how you got to where you're at now.
Yeah, so funny enough, I got the good grades, but I was a horrible student. I actually probably naturally am a DC student. I'm horrible at math. I'm horrible at numbers. I never turned anything in. Like I said, I was always working or doing side hustles during high school. So I struggled with my grades. I did graduate honors. And then afterwards, I not only proceeded to drop out of college once, but twice. So I went to Youngstown State, and the issue that I had in the first place was I never went to school for myself. I seeked an education through college for my teachers and to make my mom proud. Society just tells you after you graduate, that's what you're prepped for. You go directly into college, you figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life. I had no idea. I was a horrible student. I had no money. So I dropped out and I continued to wait tables. I worked at a garden center. And then I got bored with that and burnt out. I still wasn't getting anywhere. Then I started wanting to go back to school just because my friends were getting to the point where they were going to graduate, and I felt left behind. So I go back to school, and after one semester, I dropped out again.
But tell the exact story of when you knew you were dropping out.
Oh, this is so bad. I had the worst week at YSU. I was working at a country club. I was working at a garden center. So I have two jobs. I'm also a student. I'm trying to have fun. Totally broke. All of my friends in a sorority that I was trying to join asked me if I want to go to Jimmy John's. They wanted to go to Jimmy John's for a sandwich, and I was so hungry that day, and I'm like, okay, I'll go, but I had no money. So I get there and like I didn't even have enough money to order a sandwich. So it was so embarrassing. And then after I get in my car and on my way home, my freaking tire popped and I ran out of gas. And I was like, that's it. I had to call my friend for gas when they come get me. I'm like, that's it. I'm broke. I hate school. I'm done. I dropped out that day and never went back.
Was the kicker.
Jeez.
Yeah,
So-
a big W.
Right. So then how did we eventually get to Austin and our boy Popa getting down to Austin?
Yeah. So I had an opportunity come up at the time, just to move to a part of Texas. I ended up going to that part of Texas. I didn't really care for it. I only stayed a couple months. I wasn't working. I had been to Austin previously, so I just thought was the best next move to stay in Texas. So I knew Austin was prosperous. There's a lot of tech companies here. I knew I could get like a side job easily. So I moved to Austin by myself when I was 20 years old, had about $100 to my name. I got my first apartment. I had a little bit of furniture, a little bit of clothes. I had a half broken down car, and I decided that that was enough. So yeah, I got a bartending job. I got into bottle service and just started doing odd end jobs, working in nightclubs, and eventually got burned out of that. But along the way, I saved up all the cash I was making. I did make some good business decisions. The first business I ever invested in was actually a salon here in Austin, Texas. So I invested my own cash into that. I designed it, helped a friend out. People wanted to buy back my part of the business, so I sold it. That was my first profit ever as an entrepreneur, I guess.
That's super exciting.
Yeah, yeah. I was at 21 years old. So that's when I realized that I did want to be a business owner, but I
Mhm.
hadn't quite figured out yet what I wanted to do. That
Yeah.
was also my first taste of experiencing design too, because I had to redesign the entire salon. That's the part I enjoyed. Again, I hated the numbers part, so I sold my
Right.
the profit.
And then that probably eventually led you into kind of what you're doing today then, where is it more so like designing like the flips and everything, and then after you realize that you just kind of led towards, okay, now I can design these houses, get them on the market, and then like sell them.
Yeah, so there had actually come a point when I was 23. Again, I was really burnt out on just the dead end jobs, working late at night, being around, not the best of people. So I moved back home. I picked up another little bartending job, and I thought back to what kind of business do I want to own? And it wasn't really what do I want to do, but more so what is going to provide the type of lifestyle that I'm accustomed to, but also can take me further and I could still apply what I'm good at. And for me, that was real estate. So that's when I went into purchasing my first flip. And instead of hiring a designer, I took over every role pretty much myself, other than the contractor. And then from there, yeah, that's when the real estate career began.
To touch on that, getting into that career, talk a little bit of like both highs and lows of, the industry that you're in now.
Yeah, so there are a lot of highs and there are a lot of lows. Being an entrepreneur is like being on a roller coaster, especially being in real estate. It's unpredictable, it's volatile, it's stressful, and it's a lot of work, but the payoffs are huge. So my first flip, I was actually able to make a six-figure profit off of it, which is really hard to do, but I lucked out.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good first deal. That would make me want to stay around for a lot more flips.
And as blessed as I am to say it, I've been able to duplicate that process, and now multiple times I've done it. But on the opposite side of it, there will be months where I could have multi six figures in the bank account, and a couple weeks later, after I've purchased more assets and put money into growing my business, into marketing, whatever it may be, I'm totally cash broke. So again, that's the entrepreneur lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to have that mindset of a real entrepreneur, because that's when you have to get creative in your financing, in your marketing, in your business itself. So
Do you have anybody else right now that's helping you with any of those like decisions with some of the stuff you're doing?
Good question.
yeah, so when I first started this journey, I was on YouTube. I learned everything from YouTube. So
Yeah. Amen to that. It's literally the same here.
Totally self-taught. I bought books. I went on YouTube. The first educational post I came across was Bigger Pockets, which in your real estate, that's like the Bible of real estate. But I went through Brandon Turner's Bigger Pockets, and I started to learn more about real estate on there. And then on YouTube, I found my now mentor, Ryan Pineda. He is a real estate investor and coach out of Las Vegas. So once I had saved up a little bit of money, I invested in his program, into his mentorship. And now quarterly, so 4 times out of the year, I fly to Las Vegas and I meet with other real estate investors that have invested into that program, and we're on this journey together. So that's been a huge help for me.
That's probably a massive network too, I can imagine. I think I've heard of that guy's name before, and like he's big time.
Yeah, it is. We have a bunch of public speakers, like anywhere from like we had one of Grant Cardone's managers at our last event speaking. I've met people that are well on their way to making billions in the industry. And I started the program with some people even younger than me that started off with nothing and they're making millions in their first year. So I do get to meet a lot of high value people.
Yeah, and to touch on that too, to like take a step back, with the whole like entrepreneurial, and this goes to us, like to us three, is like I've always really appreciated Danielle's like wisdom and what she's had to tell me, and being back home. Sometimes I get frustrated when she wouldn't pick up the phone and stuff, especially when I'd be like, oh, like I really just needed to hear from her. And then I moved down here. In the first couple of weeks, I wasn't working, and like I was like, whatever, like I'll just go do my own thing. Like she literally is out the door by 9 a.m. and is coming back in at 9 p.m. And it's work the whole entire time. Like it's going to different projects, like it's going to meet different people. Like,
Yeah.
it does take, like Gabriel used to tell us, like put a 7 in your schedule. Like it really is true. Like you gotta bust your ass all day long in order to make it.
Dedication for sure. And I know it's probably something all of us can relate to. Danielle, how's the experience been with having Popa move down there so far? Has it been something you always wanted to happen, or was it kind of just he was like, I want to come down there?
It's been great. One, my brother is one of my best friends, if not my best friend, but two, like he said, I would say I spent a large chunk of my time on my business the past year. And that can get really lonely and you can feel isolated at times. And having a family member that, I could just openly be myself around, I could vent to, we could share successes and have fun too on the side. That's been great. And getting to see him come here and experience Austin and just this new life in a totally different light than I did. It's been kind of cool because we went two opposite routes, but yet still have the same mindset. So where I kind of struggled a lot, I've been super proud to see him just instantly take off with everything.
Oh yeah, congrats on the big deal too, Pope. I forgot
I
to
was
say.
just gonna say you had a big day yesterday.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So there's like 6 or 7 of us in our training program. And like, remember, I'm like literally only like a month into this game. And so like running your own deals, that's the moneymaker. Like that's the big scary thing. You got to sit down for an hour with these business owners that are literally just going to tell you no for an hour straight. And you got to kind of like maneuver it to be able to get them to say yes and to understand that the product that we're providing for them is beneficial for their business. And my first deal couldn't have went any smoother. They didn't really rebuttal a whole lot. They were just good old country boys from Alabama. Know a whole lot about the internet.
What kind of business are you not allowed to disclose? Because now I'm kind of interested.
What were you saying?
What kind of business is it? Now I'm curious. Or can you not disclose? It was what?
It was a tree service.
Oh,
Okay.
So they're chopping trees all day long. So the one owner was like not tech savvy, but he was familiar with like domains and like websites and things of that nature. The other one, I would tell him, I'd say, okay, like, what's your input? Like after I just talked about this, how do you feel? And he's like, man, I just cut trees. Like, he had no way, he didn't really care what happened. But no, I will say, coming down here and like I was really nervous to start work, like a real full-time job. But it's really nice to have Danielle down here because one, she kind of calmed me down to get in there and to start working and reminded me like why I'm doing what I'm doing and who I'm doing it for. And two, she really helps me with my finances.
Popa, never. I can never see you needing help for your finances, bro.
Nah.
So I'll be real, I'd be dirt broke if she wasn't down here. I'd be blowing everything I got. It's always like every time I go to make a purchase, like, remember, you got rent to pay. And I'm like, you right. Like,
His bills.
So
you guys, could you see you two working together eventually one of these days?
yeah, that's the goal.
I was gonna say, because I feel like you two probably would get along and be able to kind of work really well together. It seems like,
Good. If I decide to take this further, and I will, like he said earlier, there's points where this is another up and down of this career. My job is totally dependent on me. I create the work, and once that job is finished, say I purchase a home, in that process, I'm working with agents, I'm working with contractors, I'm making the designs, I'm project managing, and then I'm listing it, and then I'm working with title and escrow. Once that job is done, I no longer have work. I receive that paycheck. And until I restart that process, there's a lot of downtime. Right now I have 3 active flips and I still have downtime. And something that I learned is, one, downtime makes me really uncomfortable because I feel like I'm not producing. But the opposite side of that is sometimes I can't produce because I'm at a standstill because I don't have the resources or I don't have the employees, or I'm not generating enough business to even keep my job going. So something I can see is down the road, creating new marketing for myself, amping up, I guess, other people's money to invest, and then having Johnny jump on maybe as like a possible acquisitions manager. And he can help me filter leads and keep the process going, because one person as a business owner, you can only do so much and then you're capped out. So
right.
Hey,
Exactly.
I'm cool with it, you know. But and that is another thing too that really, like, Danielle motivates me by just like being around her, because like literally, like she said, like she doesn't like downtime. Like if she has a day off, like she literally won't take a day off. She'll be like calling people trying to like get work, like, oh yo, I got a couple days like open here. Like I could come, like, you know, you guys got anything I could come in and work with? Like I know even from experience, she's been like, hey, if you got any connections that are working in real estate, like let me know. And one of my coworkers, he's a real estate developer and builds from the ground up. And you know, he's like, I'm looking for an interior designer. And she's like, call me.
Yeah, you got it.
Like
So
it
do
doesn't
you,
all big time. So
will you design sometimes in your downtime just as like freelance almost for like other types of jobs?
I have a really good friend here in Austin. He's a real estate agent, but I met him. This is why real estate's cool too, because you never know, I guess, where it's going to take you. You never know who you're going to meet and the opportunities are going to rise. But I actually went to a showing on a home that I wanted to purchase here as a flip. It didn't work out. Had a 5-minute conversation. Turns out my now friend, who was the agent, had a property and he needed to convert it to a flip or an Airbnb. So I went ahead and I took over that job for him. I designed it all, and then I ran it as an Airbnb for a couple of months. And yeah, he's making like 3 times the mortgage now on it. So I'll do design jobs, and that is where I want to take this further. I want to get more creative with it because that's where my passion's at. So
Have you ever thought about doing more Airbnb jobs? Because if like I've seen TikToks and stuff where it seems like it would be pretty like profitable, I guess, after a certain point, but I'm not sure how that would all work, I guess.
yeah, I thought about it. I could purchase Airbnb right now if I wanted to. The reason I haven't is because sometimes the states or the cities, they change their rules and regulations, and there's a lot more that goes into managing the
Mhm.
properties, and then I have to build a whole new system. And right now I make so much in flipping that
It's not worth it.
yeah, it's not really worth it. If I do decide to invest in rentals, I actually think that I'll turn to Section 8 housing soon. That's my plan for the end of the year, this upcoming year. So
How does that work with Section 8 housing then? Just curious.
they're
With
just like buying other rentals. I'm a little different as an investor. So I actually invest in 3 different markets. I'm a virtual investor. I invest in Ohio, where I'm from. I invest in Austin, Texas, and I also invest in Fort Myers, Florida. Right now I have 3 active properties all in those states. So if I wanted to invest in Ohio, I would use my own cash. I'd buy those rentals outright, and then I would see who the government has lined up with Section
Mhm.
8 vouchers. And at the end of the month, essentially the government is paying it. But yeah, there's a lot of like truths and myths to Section 8, but I view it as more secure.
Yeah. I just find it all super interesting. And like, there's so much knowledge, I think, where you can just learn from just hearing other people talk about it, especially like yourself. That's probably crazy though, with being in Florida to Texas to Ohio. Like, how do you manage seeing that? Is it mainly just Zoom calls, FaceTimes where they're showing you the properties and stuff?
Yeah, I work a lot with agents that I trust. Basically work with people you get along with because you're going to be communicating with them a lot. Work with people you trust because you're going to be having a lot of money out there at once and you want to make sure it's in the right hands. And then 3, you just need to stay persistent and consistent in your work, check up on it, manage the contractors, manage the agents, manage yourself. Managing myself is probably the hardest part about my job. So yeah, it's difficult, but once you get it down, it's not as bad as you would think.
What advice would you give to someone that's kind of in the same boat as you at 18, 19, 20 years old and maybe interested in something like that?
You took my question.
Oh, those are your question? What's the joint question for me and John?
Well, a couple different parts I would say is 1, just start today. And I know that sounds like so cheesy, but just start taking action. If you have this idea of a person that you want to become or a lifestyle that you want to live, start taking action and stepping into that role as quickly as possible, because the more that you practice it and the more you work towards it, you're becoming it day by day, and eventually you will get there. But along the way, find a mentor that help you. Whether you have to invest in it or not, a mentor is probably the best investment you can make, because they've already done the hard work, right? You just have to apply what they tell you. 2, I would say save your money and spend your money wisely. And by spend your money wisely, I mean invest it. And if you don't have the money to invest, surround yourself with people, whether it be friends, family, or strangers literally off the street that will invest in your dreams and then pay them back accordingly. And then 3, I would just say, if you're in a position where you're not happy with the way that life is, or you're not happy with your career and you know that you're meant for more, just start telling yourself every day that it's possible to get to where you want to be. And don't think small. Don't set really small goals. Start off by setting big goals. Everybody told me when I bought my first property, everybody told me, even my mom, my biggest supporter, she was so afraid. She said, you're going to lose everything. And what I had really to begin with was very small in the grand scheme of things. But that trailer that I flipped ended up being my biggest profit to date. And it was my first step in action. So just get started, believe in yourself, and lean on people that you look up to and are playing bigger than you are. That would be my advice.
That's a lot of good points there.
Yeah.
Like
Totally off the cuff question for you, Danielle. Whenever you were looking for your first flip, what were some of the things that you looked for?
So the first flip, I'll say, actually, I didn't really look for it. My mom had actually called me and she said, hey, what about this house? And it was the house that my brother and I actually grew up in. And
Get out.
said a little bit ago, it wasn't anything great. It was a pre-manufactured home, which is basically a trailer. It came with a deed as if you sold it like a car. It was in horrible shape. I really didn't know what it was worth, but like I said, I was educating myself to the best I could on YouTube. I asked real estate agents for a second opinion. I trusted my gut. I did a lot of prayer work, and I just did what I was reading. I just applied everything that I was reading to the job, and it all worked out. So that's why I say, find somebody that knows what they're doing, and on your first flip, work with them, share your profits with them. I mean, that could have went horrible for me, but it went good. But if you're an aspiring flipper or real estate investor or anything, be willing to share your profits or joint venture your first few times, so that way you lower the risk of failing. And if you do fail, just keep trying.
It was actually, to speak on that, it was really cool to watch her do that flip, especially because I was still working. Where I work was legit 3 minutes from where I grew up. And I lived in that home for a period of time where it was in really rough shape. And it was super depressing to be in there a lot. And then when Danielle turned it around, it was like pretty emotional, because I saw it at its worst, and then to see it incredibly like beautiful, and to think that this is going to be some family's dream home. That was when I knew like Danielle was just going to take off, because
She was
Yeah.
legit at it, and it holds sentimental value, and she's pulling, she sells it, and then next thing you know, it's back into like you guys had it as a family, and now she sold it. That's pretty cool. That is a really cool story.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Yeah, but no, I kind of along the lines like you said, Josh. I was just gonna ask like what advice, like she would give. Essentially, I mean, like you guys are entrepreneurs. Like, man, I just hope J Popa workouts blows up one day. I'm like,
I'm here for it though.
yeah, no, I motivational Mondays. That's my new thing. But because like I see a lot of the same qualities in you guys. When I talk to you guys on the phone, I feel like it feels like I'm talking to like Danielle, because truly you guys are very, very dedicated to your work. I mean, like
Appreciate it,
it's
brother.
cool to watch. Like it's really cool to watch, because like when you sit back and you realize, like she said, you all just like genuinely had a dream, and you just had to pick it up and do it. Like you didn't know at all what the future held. It had to be super nerve-wracking when you just started, like, and like I was telling Josh the other day on the phone, like I told him like enough thinking about like all those small goals that like we once had. Like that's over. Like the small goals shit, like it's gone. And like now it's time to like, because he was talking to me about a kid that blew up out of Dallas, or like in his move into Dallas. And he was like, it was cool to see that like it can happen. I'm like, no, just know like it's gonna happen. Like it's not like, oh, it can, it is going to happen. And like it's gonna happen for all of us. Like we're all making the efforts. And even Danielle, just being a few years older than us, still has just started, So there's a lot that there's still yet to uncover. So I know like being down here, I definitely plan on working with her ASAP. And I'm super excited to work with her, and it is absolutely a dream come true. I mean, me and her have talked about this for so long, that this is what we wanted. I mean,
Yeah.
my first day at college when I moved in, I'm FaceTiming her, and she's like, "Really? You ended up going to school?" Like, so
Gaber was asking about you today. He was like, "Where's Pope at? Did he make it to Texas?" I was like, "Oh yeah, he did."
yeah, we made it. So yeah, no, is there anything else you want to touch on before we get off here, Danielle?
Yeah, we're probably wrapping up soon.
Got a minute 58 left.
Now, if you guys have any other questions or anything, just
No, you've been great. You're really good with these answers, very thorough and everything.
thank
You got me
you.
wanting to jump into doing some real estate work too, because it's like cool to look at and see you doing it, and like it is exciting, to see that and to be able to like grow within it's pretty cool. You have any end goals with it, or you would be like stepping away eventually at some point from it, or is it just kind of like always going to be a part of you think?
No, I don't really see me stopping. I guess with women, like usually we stop like when we're ready to get married and have kids and all that. But like this is something that I think I would, even like at that stage in my life, I think I'd want to be able to pass this down to like this knowledge down to my kids and stuff. So I guess for me right now, no, the only way I would stop is if I felt like I was content, and I'm not someone who really feels content a lot. So
Yeah, I feel you.
yeah, no, I like it. I like this business. I have fun. Like I said, I want to go a more creative route with it. I do want to get more into design. I want to see where that takes me. But as far as the business itself, I think it's something where I'm always gonna have to pivot. Like even right now, like everybody's, oh, the market's crashing, the sky's falling, flippers are done. I have 3 projects out right now. I have like $1 million loan out in Fort Myers right now. I have an $800,000 property here in Austin right now, and I have all my cash out on an Ohio house. There's nights where I wake up and I'm like, I can't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I say I'm gonna quit, the project ends and I get that check in my hand or
Hold on, Alex.
Oh, that was kind of abrupt. I don't know if Alex is in here yet. Wait 1 second. Oh, it says it wouldn't let him. Well,
podcasting is pretty cool though.
yeah, it's fun. It's definitely like a good way to just kind of chill and air out your thoughts, have some good conversations.
I'll do a podcast or something like this soon.
Yeah, you could do one all about the market and what you're up to and everything.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna see if this one works for him. Otherwise, we can just close out with us.
Okay. What I was saying earlier is the video, the quote that I live by is when Conor McGregor said, if you could feel it here and you could see it here and you have the courage to speak it, it'll happen.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
Right.
You're fucking right, mate.
Hope, also known as Connor.
Yeah, I'm Connor Jr. and the fact that sometimes I just let loose on people too,
I remember a couple times.
unfortunately. But that's another good reason why she's down here and I'm down here. Keeps me calm, cool, collected.
Keep you in check.
Yeah, has to. But yeah, no, I was super excited about this podcast.
Yeah, it's gonna be sweet. I'm trying one more thing to get him in here. Otherwise, we'll just finish it up. But it was really good. It was very.
Was that what you guys wanted?
Oh yeah, it was exactly what we wanted. It sucks that Zoom does this 45-minute limit on everything though. But yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see who you guys all bring on as you continue to do this.
Yeah, I'm hoping once we get into the fall, we can start pumping them out a lot. Like once everybody's schedule calms down and all that stuff. Oh, there he is, Alex's iPhone.
Yeah, I'm just hoping
We're chilling.
I'm hoping really that it comes down to it that naturally anyone we bring on, I'm still the biggest star.
Yeah, that's how it is,
Should I go get my shades on, go pull up like I'm going to the club?
You probably are going to the club, right?
We got
My apartment actually is on like the whole.
Really?
yeah, there's like it's
You're
just
walking distance.
I'm literally on top of a nightclub.
Nice.
yeah, like
I hear house music every night. Like
yeah, when she went on a business trip a few weeks ago and she's like, will you stay with the dog? And I was like, yeah, and it legit was like a Thursday night and it was just like boom, 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 boom. I was like, I can't even go to bed. Like, how do people do this?
That's crazy. Well, we thank you for coming on. That was very informative, and we'll get this one out here probably in a couple days.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me on. This was fun.
Yeah, we'll do another one sometime, a couple months from now.
We'll do one after a couple of those flips. We'll
Yeah.
get you on for a celebratory one.
After I make my first milli, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, cold calling don't make you a million.
It can.
We'll find out. No, yeah, once again, thank you. Danielle, you obviously are my biggest motivation. You are my biggest role model. So being down here with you has obviously taught me a lot. And these guys can attest. I talk about you all the time to them about how much you do for me. So, it's just great being down here. And it was very comforting. Like she moved down here completely alone, doing her own thing. Had to rely on literally herself. And I didn't have to do that because she literally just picks up any of the slack that I leave behind. So it's nice.
It's a good thing. But thanks for coming on, Danielle. We appreciate it. Seriously.
For sure. Anytime. All right. Bye, guys. Best of
See ya.
luck. What you're doing.
We'll see it.